welcome to another top 10 video, and I'm in a good mood for this one because A, it's one of my tongue-in-cheek lists that I've wanted to do for a while, and B, as of the time of recording this, I've recently come back from the cinema after watching the Lego Movie, the second part, and spoiler alert, not as good as the original, but still fantastic, great fun, even though you are going to have to accept that certain songs may get stuck in your... But enough about that, we're talking about games. So here we're talking about my top 10 annoying gamer traits. Top 10 annoying gamers, top 10 annoying personality traits, whatever. However you want to phrase it. Now understand, this is not a dig at specific people. This is not even meant to insult anyone. I'm guilty of some of these at times, you know, we're all guilty of these traits. And it's just meant to be quite tongue-in-cheek, because I'm sure some of you will share an opinion on this, but yeah, like I say, I'm not naming names, I'm not naming specific people, I'm not talking about my game group or anybody else out there. This is just certain traits that when I see them in games, or when I see them online even, because it's not always when I'm playing games that I see these traits, they just sort of irk me a bit. You know, they start to grate. It's not like, oh, if you exhibit these traits, I will not play a game with you. That's not how it works. It's just, like I say, if you wanted me to rank these, it's a case of how often do I see it versus how much it annoys me when I see it. You know, but again, this is just tongue-in-cheek, not meant to be mean or insulting in any way, so get over it. Yeah, but I'm sure a lot of you have got opinions on this as well, so by all means, list them in the comments. I'd love to read them. Now, what slightly worried me when I did this list, because I thought, you know what, this probably won't be that easy a list to make. I'll come up with a few, maybe I might be able to get 10, we'll see. I sat down, opened my book, and within 5 minutes I'd written 20 items. Right, okay. It's like, not to say I hate everyone and everything, but, you know, certainly I was very quick at writing down a few of these. And some of it was down to the Dice Tower when they did this top 10 as a tongue-in-cheek one on a live Dice Tower con, I think. But I also just had a few that weren't on their list where I thought, yeah, these irk me as well. So, as I say, tongue-in-cheek, not insulting in any way, okay? Just getting that out there. Without further ado, let's commence. Now, obviously, I don't have any, games to show as an example of this. You're just going to have to get some random picture or thumbnail and accept that this video probably isn't going to be image-filled as other ones are. This is more about discussion than it is about seeing pictures, because how can I illustrate a game to illustrate a personality trait? It doesn't work. But we'll see how it goes. So number 10. This one isn't one that I tend to see in gaming per se. It's more that I see it online when I'm in discussion groups talking about games. And this is a problem that has been going on for a while. It's one that I see lots and lots whenever somebody asks that question, you know, will I be able to understand this game? Will I be able to get this game? Do you recommend this one over this one? That kind of thing. And I call this one, I'm trying to give them names, but I call this the heavy elitist player. Now, this comes in two guises, okay? The first guise, which is mostly harmless, but it's a little bit stuck up, I sort of think, is when you get that player who thinks that everything that he plays, well, he or she, I'll do my best to say there in person, okay, because I come across both sides, you know, both genders distribute some of these traits. And, you know, it's where they play a game and they're obsessed like, oh yeah, this is a heavy game, yeah, this is really involved, deep and strategic and that, but it seems that the games that they don't like aren't heavy. Like, no matter how heavy the game is, I mean, the game could be Twilight Imperium 4, but because they don't like it and they don't play it, they don't think it's heavy. You know, that gets a little annoying at times. But the second guise, and the one that I see more commonly, is where somebody asks the question like, oh, you know, is this game all right for me? Can I handle this? What will my kid be able to handle? And then they list a bunch of games, and these people come on and start claiming that certain games are light or medium when they're blatantly not. They seem to have this kind of misconception where, you know, anything like Food Chain Magnate, Roads and Boats, you know, the Spotter series are all heavy games. These are heavy. And then suddenly, Great Western Trail, Terraforming Mars, Scythe, Kanban, Gallerist, you know, Viticulture, Anachrony, and all that lot are light. Excuse me? No. Okay? You know, Takinoko is light. Barren Park is light. Splendor is light. You know, Viticulture, and I would say possibly things like Automania. Let's have a look. Automania, Elysium, I said viticulture already. Come on, let's have a look. Not Dinosaur Island, I wouldn't say that one. Polestar 2849, I would say. Colosseum. Let's see, keep going. Abyss, I'd call these mostly medium weight games. There's enough to them that I'm not going to shove them in front of a brand new player. So why are they suddenly classed as light? Basically what I'm getting at is that from these people, the whole light medium weight thing, it's subjective at the end of the day. I get that. It's going to be subject to debate whether something's light, whether something's heavy. But it always seems to be that these ridiculously super heavy games are heavy and anything else is for kids, which is just, it skews the opinion of them, and this is a thing amongst all gamers. We sort of think, oh well, I can understand this fine, it's totally simple to play in that. Yeah, without realizing that you've had how many years of gaming, how much experience with like geekdom and nerdom and all that lot. You're probably more used to it than Joe Blogs, your next door neighbor who's never seen a board game in his life. You've got to think about the bigger picture rather than just your own perspective here. And it can mislead people. You could be explaining that this game is really light and you'll get into it fine. And then they get the game and then they think, oh my god, this is insane. And this is the light version? There's no way I'm going to be able to get into this hobby. Right, it's not for me. I'll go do something else. You're pushing people away from the hobby then. It can be a negative thing. Now, it doesn't annoy me as much per se, but it's definitely one that I sort of see it online in discussions and I'm like, rolling my eyes like, really? Doesn't make sense. Why is it like that? But again, not a massive deal. That's why it's my number 10, but I see it so commonly that it had to at least make the list. So, the heavy elitist player. At number 9, I would like to borrow a prefix from Z Garcia actually on this one, and that is the guy who can bend time. This is the person who you're about to play a game with, and you'll say like, oh, we're going to play a game of Terraforming Mars. Do you want to jump in? Oh yeah, I've been interested in that game. How long is it? 30 minutes. Wrong! No matter what game they've got in front of them, no matter what they're playing, how many players, they seem to believe that everything can be done in 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, whatever the sort of game. So they seem to have it in their heads that it's like, oh yeah, we're playing 4-player Terraforming Mars. We'll have this done in about an hour and a half tops. Yeah, in your dreams, you'll have it done in that time. And it's just to pull people in. They just want people to come and play their game so that they can play it, rather than caring about whether the person is actually going to lose interest in the game because it's too long. Can't you guys just accept that some of these games are long games? If you like long games, great, but don't lie and say that you can play a game of Anachrony in 90 minutes when it's clearly a 2.5 to 3 hour game. It's just to rope people in. And it can happen with lighter games as well, though. I mean, somebody will say like, oh yeah, how long does a game of Splendor take? Or sorry, it's like, oh yeah, we'll be done in 20 minutes. Excuse me? You're going to set it up and teach it and play a 4-player game of Splendor in 20 minutes. Good luck with that. Even I have to accept that Splendor is a 30-minute to 45-minute game. It's, why people seem to think that everything takes so little time. It's beyond reason. And sometimes it's because they like to... They don't include setup and teaching a lot of the times, particularly online when they say, oh yeah, this is a good 90-minute game and it's clearly 2 hours, 2.5 hours, because they don't include setup and teach. That's fair enough if you want to do that. I'm not going to defend that to the hill, but I personally always include setup and teach in my gaming time because, firstly, you got to set the thing up. It's not magically there. You don't suddenly go, Wingardium Leviosa and suddenly the whole thing just levitates and sets itself up. You've got to put in that effort and time. And then on top of that, you've then got to teach it. Now, if you're one of these lucky few people that only plays with the same 3 people on a regular basis and you never have to teach games more than once, then fine. Great for you. Most of us, though, don't have that luxury. I go to game groups, I go to Dice Portsmouth, I go to various events where I'm teaching games a lot. And I have a lot of games here to play, a lot of games to teach. And I'm bringing in the new hotness sometimes for review purposes and things like that. I've got to teach the game brand new. So, and even if I've got a game that I love, I could be playing Caverna. I've got some friends who love playing Caverna with me. We have so much fun playing Caverna and they know the rules. But they'll forget rules. I'll still have to reteach a few bits. And even then, we might play a 4 or 5 player game and then suddenly one person's like, I've really wanted to play Caverna. Can I join in? I've got to teach that person. You've always got to teach somebody most of the time for a game. That takes time. Whether it's 10 minutes or half an hour, it takes time and I have to factor that into the game length. But even then, I'm sorry, terraforming Mars with 4 to 5 players does not take 90 minutes. And there's other examples where they think like Great Western Trail takes like 90 minutes. Excuse me? It's just that person who can bend time and drastically lowers it beyond realistic expectations, mainly just to drag people into their game. Not a trait I'm a big fan of. I see a lot of people do it. And again, it's subjective. It depends how you interpret, what you want to, your start and finish. But again, be realistic. People talk. People socialize. Unless you are literally playing a game like this.
Social activity!
With no interaction, no distractions whatsoever, not even social communication, then you might be able to get the game done in that time. But chances are, not going to happen. So be realistic. Just allow a bit of extra time. Don't constrain yourself so much. We don't have time-bending properties, so don't assume you do. My number 8, I don't see it as much now, mainly because I tend to take a bit more control over what games I'm playing and with who. But I do see this time and time again, and it's not so bad in certain games, but in some Euro games, particularly Euro games, this is a bit of a pain. I call this guy the Inviter. This person, the Inviter. Sorry, I am trying. And this person is the one who you set up a game, and you go, oh yeah, we're going to play, let's say, good example, Cleopatra and the Society of Architects. Goes up to 5 players. I decide I want to play this with a max of 3 players, because if you play Cleopatra with more than that, it drags on too long. And the same goes for a lot of these Euro games, particularly the ones that dare to put 5 players on the thing, even though it blatantly doesn't work with 5. And Caverna is probably another good example. I will play this maximum with 5. And even then, you got to know what you're doing. You dare even suggest I'm going to play this with 6 or 7. I even took the components for 6 and 7 players out of the box because it takes too long. But you say, right, oh yeah, we're going to play this great 3-player game, 4-player game of this Euro, and we're good. One person in your group, though, decides that they want to include everyone. And so as soon as anybody walks past, even gets a slight whiff that you're playing this game, it's like, they just walk past, it's like, literally like a dog sniffing a bone or a meal or something. They just get one whiff of the game. The inviter then jumps in and goes, why don't you join us? Yeah, you sit down. Yeah, you sit down there. And yeah, we can all play, can't we? And you've just tanked the game for us. Thank you very much. And you don't even usually get a choice, because a lot of the times I'll be setting this game up. It's like, good, we've got the 3 players. This is the perfect way to play it. Playing it with 4 is a bit long. 5 is just too much. You turn your head for 1 second to get yourself a drink. And by the time you've turned your head round, suddenly that inviter has invited 2 other players, the homeless guy off the street, and the cat. And suddenly your game is now tanked and takes 3 hours when it should only take 90 minutes because it's got that 30 minutes per player thing shoved on it. This one probably could have been higher up the list, but I don't see it as often now because I'm usually more like, I want to play this game, I'm going to teach you it, but seriously, we want to cap it at this many players because of time length. And people I play with tend to trust that I sort of know that time bit, and so this doesn't come up that often anymore. But particularly at conventions, this can be a bit of a problem. But certainly, there are some times where somebody in the group just wants to invite everything in the kitchen sink to play this game, and they invite the slow player or some, person who blatantly has never played a heavy game before. And it's just, I know I want to be inclusive, and this is the problem, because you can't then turn to the person and say, sorry, I really want to cap it at 3, because it makes you sound like a complete jerk, and I don't want to be the jerk. So I let them play, and I just accept that the game is not going to be as good as it was. But when that one person just decides they want to invite everybody, it can get pretty frustrating. And it's not, like I say, I want to include other people. Fine, we'll play this 3-player Euro game. I'm trying to find another example of one that's a bit like, Feast for Odin's another one. He's like, I want to play this 2-player. I will play it with 3. Okay. I was like, fine, we'll play it with 3. I've got 2 new players. Fine. And then one of them invites a 4th new player, and suddenly I'm like, I'm going to be playing this Feast of Odin for a long time, aren't I? I don't want to. And it's just, it can get pretty annoying. So, yeah, just accept that if there's just because a game can go up to a certain number of players, doesn't mean that it has to. You know, what's the phrase from Jurassic Park? Is like, you know, just because you could doesn't mean that you should. So just stick with the player count as recommended. My number 7, yeah, it's not one that I'm willing to sort of shout at a person for. You know, there's more like stuff later coming up, but this one comes up very frequently, and it's not so much like, oh, every time it happens, I'm like, argh, or anything like that. It's a bit like what's it called? Death by 1,000 cuts? It's just like, you feel that every time someone does this, somebody pokes you with a toothpick. You know, and ow! Ow! It's just constantly like poking me with a toothpick every time this happens. And I call this I don't know what you would call it. I call it cutting in, the trait. And this is when I'm giving rules explanations for a game. It's like, you know, I'm saying, all right, and you move this character over to here, and when you do, you get to do one of these 3 actions. And then somebody butts in who, you know, has played the game, but not quite sort of, but they remember a rule that they sort of remember, and they basically just cut in with some random thing. They're like, oh yeah, and then you do this bit, right? Yes, I'm just about to explain that, you know, that's okay though, you jumped ahead. Well, that's cool, okay, that's fine. And, you know, in the first action, you're allowed to either draw a card or play a card, and then they butt in again saying and if you play these cards, you know, you get to do all these really cool things, and if you play this card, you get to do this, and it's like, yes, I gathered that. Can I keep teaching? You know, they just won't stop butting in when I'm trying to explain a game.
Permission to speak really quite urgently, sir.
Damn and blast your goggly eyes, will you stop interrupting, George?
I'm not saying I'm the best rules teacher ever. You know, there are people out there who do great rules teaching. You got Paul Grogan, you got Rodney Watch It Played, but I like to think I teach games pretty well. You know, I get good feedback from people I teach games to. I've done it often enough. But it's frustrating when somebody butts in with rules, like taking it out of the order. There's a certain order you should do these things. You know, what's the goal of the game? What's the theme of the game? You know, right, okay, turn sequence. What do you do on how does the round sequence go? Right, now what do you do on your turn? Do the actions in order. And it's, you know, and ramp up the complexity. Don't start with the hardest thing now and then go to the easy stuff. There's stuff like that I follow. But when people butt in, it affects the order. And you just know that the person opposite you has just suddenly not understood a thing that they've said because they've butted in with a concept that I haven't explained yet. You know, don't talk about specific tactics and strategies when I haven't even explained how you do your turn. It is, like I say, ow, poking me with a toothpick constantly as I hear each one. And they can see that, like
No.
the vein in my eye just slightly popping every time someone does that. And I don't see it as often now. There are some people I know that are worse than others at it, but it's just like, just let me explain the game. You know, when you hear it from one person, people understand it a lot better. As soon as you hear things coming from all different sources about different things at the wrong order, the wrong timing, it makes it harder for that individual. You know, and, you know, some people I know are very bad at teaching games, you know, and they're usually half the time the ones that butt in a lot. So it's, you know, they think they know it all, but they don't. But then I'm not saying I know it all either, you know, I'm not trying to be like Ivory Tower here. But it can get annoying. I'm sure a lot of you come up with this, which is why if someone else is teaching a game, unless I know they've got a rule wrong, and I know for certain they've got a rule wrong, I shut up. You know, I just let them teach it. Even if I know the game, I'm just like, let them do it. Let them do it. I may not agree with the order they've done it in, but as long as they're doing it, and that person is listening intently, why should I interrupt? Why should I get in the way? Just let them do it. And, you know, I follow that. I wish other people would as well. Again, not the worst trait in the world, but... ow, 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 ow. My number 6 is a direct result of people not paying attention. But it's not so much the not paying attention part, it's the aftermath of not paying attention during the rules explanation. I don't know what to call this person. I call this the 20 questions guy. It's this is the one who, because they haven't listened to the rules, whether because they were distracted on their mobile phone or talking too much or just not listening, or they just thought, you know what, I'll pick it up as I go through the game. No, there are certain games that you don't pick up as you go along. You have to know the rules ahead of time. That's why we're explaining it to you. But then, even for a light game, I remember one game I played, I was teaching Takinoko. And Takinoko is not a gateway game, in my opinion. It's a bit above gateway, but it's light. You know, there's a bit going on, but it's not stupidly complex. You should be able to grasp the rules after a few rounds of play, if you didn't already from the rules explanation. But I've had a time when I taught someone than that, and it was like they were playing 20 questions. Every second, every turn they had, it's like, how's the panda move again? Oh, how's the farmer move? Alright, what does this do? But what if I do this, but if I do this, will that result in this, and it's like, Jesus man, put up a couch, I charge by the hour. It's ridiculous. If you were having to ask this many questions, then clearly you weren't listening to the rules in the first place, or this game is too challenging for you and you shouldn't have jumped in when I warned you it was a heavy game. But I had this during a Takinoko game once. I mean, how hard is it to understand Takinoko after a few rounds of play? And these are people who come from a background saying, oh yeah, I work in science and I'm a lab technician. I do all this complex stuff with mitochondria and cells and stuff. I don't know, I'm not a scientist. But they come from that background, and yet just trying to understand the rule of draw a card or play a card is suddenly, too much? How does that work? But I know, different backgrounds, different people, different mindsets is how it works. I've seen it all before. But, oh god, this can get very annoying, and it's not so bad if it's like, okay, you're new to games, fine, you're going to ask questions, I don't mind, I accept that. But when I can tell that the reason you're asking the 20 questions is because you wouldn't pay attention when I explain the rules, that's annoying. Because it meant that you were too lazy to shut up and listen, and then you're just going to make life annoying for me by distracting me from my game because I'm trying to think of what I'm going to do next, and I can't because I've got to answer your million questions. And so people will think, oh, you're playing slow. No, I'm not playing slow. I just don't get time to think about my turn because I'm going to answer his questions. Whee! This is going to be a fun list. But it's, like I say, that whole 20 questions thing where you feel like you're giving a therapy session to the person as opposed to actually playing the game. Pay attention to the rules explanation, people, and you will have a better time. And failing that, if you're not entirely certain whether a move is good, just do it anyway. Your first game is a learning game. If you're asking a specific rules query, I don't mind it too much. Like, how does the panda move again? Fine, I will explain how the panda moves again. But when it's the people who go, but if I move the panda here, will that be better for me? Or if I move the farmer here, will that grow that to a 4 size? Or if I move that here, will that be better for me? And it's like, stop trying to think of the best move possible. Just pick one, go with it, live with the consequences of your actions. This is a board game. This is not a life or death decision. And move on. People do tend to focus on trying to every single path possible. And we'll come up to that in just a second. My number 5 links to one that we're going to come up to later, but it also partially links back to the one I've just done with 20 questions. But this one is a trait that we've all seen this before. We all know this person, the min-maxer. This can get aggravating. I don't care if I win a game. I honestly don't. I could play a game. I played a game of Downforce the other week. I taught 5 new players. We had a great time. It was mean. It was evil. I came dead last because I was just getting blocked. I made bad bet decisions and I came last. Did not care. We had such a laugh. And that's the thing with games. They make me laugh. They get me immersed. They just make me enjoy social interaction with other people. I couldn't care less if I'm first, second, third or fourth on a score track. Whoopie-doo. But these people are so obsessed not only with winning, but they want to win by a mile. They don't just want to win slightly. They want to cream you. They want to rub salt in the wound, squeeze lemon in it, and then scrape it on the ground, before they accept that the world is great for them. And it's more like a big-headed thing, because they want to show, oh yeah, I am so amazing at this game, I can beat you by 40 points, and look, I've lapped you. Ha 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 ha. It's like, oh, for God's sake. And these people hold up the game. I mean, this will link to something later on, but, the 20 questions thing kind of links, because a lot of the questions they'll ask is, well, will this give me the most points? Or will this be the best move? And it's like, just pick one and go with it. But it gets even worse if the person knows they're going to win. Like, I can look at the score track and I can see that there is no physical way that person in second place can catch up to the person in first place. But that person in first place ain't satisfied with a win. No, they gotta win by 1,000,000 points. And so they'll be like, well, I could do this move. That would get me 6 points there. And so, like, you've won. I mean, whatever you do, there's no way you can catch up. Oh, but this move could do me 7 points there. It's like, you've won! It's like, get on with it! It's like, it's... very frustrating. And, if I win a game, great. I feel good about winning a game, but I don't rub it in people's faces. But I could win a game by 1 point or 100 points. I don't care. A win is a win. Makes no difference. And I like close finishes anyway. I had a game of Western Legends the other day, and I taught 3 new people, and I kid you not, we played a long game, and we finished 1 point from each other. I think I was on 39, and then 38, 37, 36. We were that close. That's the kind of finish you want. I don't want to be 36, 37, 38, and 505. I don't want that kind of gap, because that doesn't make the other players feel good. But I treat it like a zombie apocalypse. I know this is a weird metaphor, but go with me here. What's the saying? If you're outrunning zombies, or if you're outrunning a bear, or something like that, you don't have to be the fastest person in the world. You just have to be faster than the next slowest person. And that's the same thing with the point scoring track. I don't have to be on 150 points if the opponent's on 99. I just need 100. That's the only distinction. I don't care about high scores. I'm not one of these people as a kid who went around arcade machines and was desperate to have my 3 initials on the scoreboard on Pac-Man or something. It's like, just choose a route, go with it. If you win, great. If you don't, who cares? It's only a game. How many times do I need to say this motto? But, yeah. I mean, these people can get very annoying, particularly when you combine it with something coming up later. But it's just... Seriously, is winning so important to you? Is high score so important to you that the social interaction is a side thing? I hope not, because that's not what I want to be doing when I'm playing games. I don't care about the score, I care about the fun. My number 4 is not a dig at a particular reviewer, okay? Because this reviewer is meant to do this. It's his style. It's what he does. It's why people like him. And I like him too. I think he's a great guy. But when other people do it in games, that's when it gets annoying. And as I say, I said at the start that I'm guilty of some of these at times. I've got to admit, occasionally I've done this myself, when I've really got into it and I'm really hard thinking. Not often, but I will admit I'm guilty of this one occasionally. But this one is I would just call it the Rado Dictator. Because he basically plays every single game like he's doing a Rado runs-through video. If you've ever watched his content, then, you know that he's basically holding the camera up to the thing, and he's constantly going, well, if I do this, but I could end up doing this, but I'm going to do this move, so I'm going to move this guy here, and I'm going to do 2 points, I'm going to get 2 points for that, but then I'm going to play this card, because this card is red, and red allows me to go faster, because that's how orcs work, and it's like, wow, okay, I mean, seriously, I swear Rado's like the son of the Micro Machines advert guy, remember him?
Dramatically detailed, stupendously styled, smaller than a nut, this one or this one. And now with a totally terrific town, the new Micro Machine Super City Toolbox playset. Closed, it's a mild manner toolbox. Open, it's a Micro Machine USA.
When players start doing it in games, it's annoying, because Rado's meant to be doing that, you're not. And so you do get these people who literally are talking to you. They're doing their turn, but as they're doing it, they are telling you what they're doing, why they're doing it, why this plan is going to develop in 3 turns, explain what they're going to do next turn as a result of this, and it's like, shut up! It's like, I don't need to know all this. I know some people, I refuse to play Euro games with some of these people because they are just constantly explaining everything. Okay, I don't want you to cheat on your turn, but I can see what you're doing on your turn. I know you're not cheating. I don't need to know your life story of how you're playing this game. It's like, keep it to yourself. Why are you revealing everything to me? I'm not saying... Right, I'm going to plant a grain and a vegetable here. They're going to grow, so I'm going to harvest them later because that will then allow me to feed myself in the harvest coming up in the turn's time. And it's like, nobody cares. It's like, come on. Why are you like this? And I get it. Some people are a bit nervous. I think it's a nervous thing, that it causes people to do this. But we don't need to know everything about your turn. Just take your turn, because you're holding the game up by doing all the explaining, because I guarantee that the explaining is taking longer than your turn is. So just keep it yourself. You can mention little things like, I'm going to go here and grab some corn and veg. Done. That's it. I don't need to say why I'm grabbing it. I don't need to say why it's going to blossom in 2 turns' time into this fundamental strategy that I've been coming up with all game. By the way, here are my etchings on how this strategy is going to play out. It's like, no, just get on with it. And this one is high up on the list because I come across this one a lot. And in certain Euro games, this can really aggravate me. It's like, I admit, I've done this occasionally in short stints, and somebody might point it out to me, and I'll go, oh God, yeah, I'm doing that. Yeah, sorry about that. I'll be the first one to apologize because I know how much it aggravates me, so I assume it's aggravated someone else. So I apologize for it. But these people don't. They just go along and explain everything. It's just like, therapist couch charged by the hour. It's like, do you have something you need to reveal to me? Some like pent up, frustration from your childhood that you want to explain while you're at it? Just get on with it. Whew, am I going to survive this list? Hot in here. Is it hot in here or am I just ranting a lot? But number 3. Now, this has to be at least a number 3, 2, or 1 on people's list because I cannot imagine anybody who doesn't find this trait annoying. And I like to think I've never done it before, but, who knows, maybe. I certainly used to do this as a kid. I was bad at this as a kid, I'm not proud of that fact. But thankfully, you mature, you grow up, and you realise, yeah, you know what, there is really no reason for this. Remember, it's only a game. The motto is not just a random motto. I picked it because it resonates with my childhood. But this is the whiner, the moaner. The person who is constantly getting frustrated and annoyed and whining on and on that everybody's out to get them, or the game is broken, or that, it's like, oh, you keep picking on me, go for him. It's like, oh, but God, kids section's over there. It's, we're adults. Come on. I'm playing, if a 10-year-old's going to do that, I can kind of expect that sort of thing. But if I'm teaching people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s and older, I expect you to have grown up. If you're constantly moaning and whining about the game, you're really not making it good for other people. I mean, just saying that, oh, I'm just not doing very well in this game. I mean, I'm barely getting any VPs. You guys are getting so much. This isn't fun. It's like, oh my God. It's like, what are you, 5? This has got to be high up on other people's lists. If people have not mentioned this in the comments that they agree with this, I'll be shocked. Is that just because you haven't met these people? Or if so, well done, praise to you, because I see a lot of them. But, actually, I don't know. Maybe not as much as I do. But the problem is when you do find that one person who does it, you're usually in a position where you're stuck with that person for the whole game night, or at least a good chunk of the convention. And oh God, you got to prepare for your games to be ruined because you're constantly going to have to put up with this whining. And sometimes it's down to people, they think people are picking on them. So they go, stop going for me. He's in the lead. You should go for him. And then what happens about an hour down the line? They're trouncing everybody at the table because they whined so much that people were going for them that nobody went for them. And so they get left alone and suddenly their strategy comes into play. I swear some of them just do it because they know that if no one picks on them, they'll win. It has to be, this can't just be an inbuilt thing. This has to be deliberate at times. And it's just so childish. It's so stupid. It is not a personality trait I want to see in any adult playing a game. It's only a game. Deal with it. Move on. For crying out loud. I mean, I've got Survive, Escape from Atlantis over there. One of the most mean and evil games in history. Now, there are some people I won't play this with because I know they gang up on me just out of choice. So they just do it for a laugh. And it's like, yeah, that's not fun. Although, more on that later. But, you're eating people left and right. I'm eating your guy with a shark. Oh, you sunk my ship. Oh, you ate me with a squid. If I was whining constantly in that game, can you imagine that sort of thing? With people whining constantly, like, stop eating me, go for him. It's like, oh, God. Hey. This one is high up on the list because it makes me angry as much as it makes me annoying. Makes me annoyed because it's just not. It's childish. It's just plain, simple, childish. And seriously, stop. No, stop. The whiner and moaner deserves a top 3 spot. Number 2, this one isn't so much about being childish, it's just plain rude. This one I see very often. And it's not that it annoys me too much, it's the fact that I just find it rude. And I'm one of these sort of people that thinks, if I'm being rude for any reason, then, I'm the first one to apologize for it. It's like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cause harm. But, oh my God, there are some people that just don't care. And this one I call the deserter. This is the person, well, actually, let me just paint the scenario for you, okay? It's like, and you've got 78, you've got 79, and you're the winner. Well done. Yay, good on you. Whew. Good game, guys. That was a good game in that. Right, let's get this, where'd you go? And these people have run off. These are the people who, this really frustrates me. You have sat there. You've bought this game. They didn't have to pay for it. You bought it out of your own collection. You taught it to them. You took the time and effort to teach them a brand new game and have a good social experience. And then the second the game ends, the second they know that they don't have to sit at that table anymore, rather than stay to help put the game away, they instantly make an excuse of, I'm going to get a drink, go to the loo, grab a fag, move on, goodbye, see you later or something. And it's like, oh, thanks. We've just played Anachrony for 3 hours. You know how many pieces are in this game. You know it has to go in inserts. And you just run off because you can't be bothered to help pack the game away, you selfish little... It does aggravate me, this one. I mean, it's my number 2. And I come across this a lot. The people who just don't. I mean, I don't get... It's just rude. The person... If I'm playing a new game, somebody, even not a new game, somebody brought their copy of Feast for Odin, and, they taught it, they taught 2 new people, I got to play it with them, it was their copy, they took the effort, it's their version. The first thing I will say, the second the thing finishes, do you need a hand packing this up? And if they say, nah, I'm good, I know where everything goes, I'm fine, or they prefer to do it themselves, then fine, leave them to it. It's a bit like when you work in a retail store. You're taught, or you should be taught, if your manager's any good, that when you walk up to somebody and you ask, hi, how's it going? Good morning. Do you need any help with looking around? Or, are you interested in this? And if they say, no, we're good, we're just browsing, or thank you anyway, or something, you don't then bug them with more questions or bug them with more. You just politely say, thank you, and move on. And this is the same with like packing up a game. If somebody wants to pack up the game themselves because they're good, then I just move on. I could leave, or I could get a drink, and I'll say thank you. That's cool. I just thought I'd ask. But oh my God, at least ask. Because there's a lot of games I've got up here that I've got a lot of pieces in them. I want help packing it away. I don't want to spend half an hour packing this game away. It's like, oh, go grab these, stick them in the bag, put this in this box, put these in this bag. Right now, I've got to try and Tetris it into this thing. I could use a bit of help. You can do the wound and the sanity and health tokens, right? You do that. Can you grab up all the player cards and put those in the bag? That'd be great. I'll handle the these other cards, because they got to be specially sorted. And would you mind collecting up the the extra ammo pieces and stuff like that? Just stick them in the bag. They all go the same, and it just speeds everything up. Why are you the sort of person that just runs off because you can't be bothered to help? And this isn't one that I necessarily find, childish like the previous one. I just find it plain rude. And maybe I'm a bit like the Kingsman.
Manners maketh man.
Is it too much to ask? A little bit of manners, a little bit of chivalry? Chivalry's not dead, nor manners. And my number 1, and this one, like I say, I'm not guilty of this very much, but there will be the occasional game that just wow, okay, this is throwing me off a bit, or I might have got distracted and suddenly I panic and I I better think, oh God, sorry, I'm taking a bit long here, hang on, all right, I'll just go with something. And, occasionally it happens to me. But there are some people that I just refuse to play games with because I know that this trait, which everybody knows, which I think everybody hates, analysis paralysis, oh my God. And sometimes a person can't help it. I mean, if it's a new player to a game, I accept that analysis paralysis is going to help. It's going to be a problem. I teach my parents games. They're not versed with games. I expect them to take a while on their turns. I'll still probably be the first person to say to them, gonna move on. It's like, because I'm waiting for mine and I've already thought about my next 3 turns and I gotta wait for this person who's still thinking about the turn they took in the previous game we were playing. It really gets a little bit annoying at times. And it's not so bad if you know the game is complex. It's like, and I know some people I play with, some good friends of mine, who they suffer a little bit from analysis paralysis, but they're very polite about it. They'll say, sorry, this has taken me a while, I didn't mean to. And then I'm like, that's cool. Take your time, don't worry. Because I respect the fact that they are aware that they're doing it, and they know it might, aggravate others, but they're polite. They're not like just saying, look, just deal with it. I'm going to take a while, settle with it. No, they're nice about it. And in respect, I'll give them respect for that, and I'm more lenient. But the ones who just don't seem to care that they're holding the group up, they're like, I'm playing my own game here. You guys can wait. Selfish. That's a selfish way of thinking. And on top of that, sometimes it's analysis paralysis over the stupidest things ever. It's like, you have 2 choices here. In this choice, you will win £1 million and the game. The second choice here, not only will you lose, but I get to take all your vital organs, chop your feet off, and marinate them in the sauce before feeding them to my pet gorilla who lives out back.
Right.
It's like, okay, I think I know which choice I'd rather pick, but this person can still spend the next 5 minutes going, well, I could do that, but then that choice is pretty good as well. And it's like, it's obvious, it's staring you in the face, just do it! And this links back to previous stuff. Remember the 20 questions guy? I think it was, and the Minmaxer? It links into those. That's what I was getting at, because the Minmaxer, you combine that with analysis paralysis, and it's like, I don't want to play any game with you if you're an analysis paralysis Minmaxer, because you're going to be that Eurogamer who is debating 2 to 3 different options, all because you want to figure out which one gives you that one extra point to make it worthwhile, and you're just willing to sit there and delay the whole game because of your obsession with getting everything maxed out as possible. And it's just such a pain. A slow player can get very annoying. I have the best tip I tell everybody when I teach them a new Euro game, particularly Euro. Ameritrash, not so much, but sometimes. But Euro game particularly, I have this one golden rule I tell everybody when we play a game. You're going to get times where you have a couple of choices, maybe 2 or 3, and you're not entirely certain which one. You'll be looking at them all and you're thinking, they're all good, but I can't decide which one I should take. First tip I say is, as soon as you get into that situation, just pick one and go with it. Or even better than that, people will sort of be like, okay, we're going to play this Euro sandboxy game. And it's like, okay, what should I do then? There's so many options, and Pulsar, Caverna, and stuff like that. These can lead to analysis paralysis, because not so much that the rules are complex, but or they're min-maxing. It's just there's so much choice. What do I go for? I tell people to pick a path, never deviate. Doesn't matter if it's the worst path you could have picked. Go with the path. Feast of Odin. We played this the other week, and we had 2 new players. And I said this to them before we started the game. Somebody else was teaching, but I mentioned this point. And one person went for mostly animals. Okay? I told him, stick with the animal thing. What do you need to do to make animals work? You need more animals. You need to get them pregnant. You can get milk and food. You can feed yourself with them. Whatever it is, if it's to do with animals, do it. Don't worry about the immigration stuff over there. Don't worry about the pillaging bit over there. It's not relevant to you. You're definitely going on a bit of an immigration thing here. So, okay, get your ships. Get those things, do the actions to get them emigrated. Don't worry too much about feeding, but focus on that. You need the resources, you need to build those ships, and you need to emigrate your people. Stick to it. And that just, if people stick to that rule, it works. I do this every time I play a new game. First time I played Caverna, I'm like, oh my god, I can do how many of these things? This is awesome. Right, well, this time I'm going to be the cave dweller, okay? I'm going to be a miner. I'm just going to get mines, I'm going to put donkeys in them, and that's it. Forget about outside. That'll be a secondary thing. And I stick to it. I might lose, but what does it matter? I've learned how to play the game now. And then you play it again. You go, right, well, now I'm going to do farming. Constant farming. Right, don't deviate. And sometimes some games reward some tactical changes, but a lot of the Euros are kind of like yeah, you kind of need to stick to what it was you were doing. You just might need to adapt at times. You can't just fundamentally change your strategy halfway through a game. And I find that when people get this, they don't analysis paralysis as much. But yeah, it's... I follow that rule, and occasionally I've fallen victim to analysis paralysis at times, but I like to think I don't very often. I like to think I've already thought about my turn, or if I ever get into a situation where I'm thinking, okay, I'm deliberating these two a bit too much, just pick one, go with it. Don't even think about whether the other one was the better idea. Take that one and live with the consequences. If it was the right move, great. If it was the wrong move, whatever, you learn from your mistakes, and you know that next time you can, not make that mistake again, or you can just accept that maybe this time things got a bit too complex for you and you just need more practice with the game. You can't be great at a game in your first attempt. That's not how it works. So, yeah, I see this one a lot. It must annoy a lot of people. It's got to be on the top 10s for other people. But yeah, analysis paralysis, I see it so often, and regardless of why it's there, it can get annoying. So it had to be my number one. Whew, and calm. Oh, that was a fun one to do, actually. I found that quite fun, but yeah, a bit ranty. But I'm sure a lot of you guys have got similar opinions on those, or maybe some other traits. I mean, like I say, I wrote down about 20, and I struggled to rank these. I mean, this was a hard list to rank. I'm sure there's many others I haven't said, so by all means, put them in the comments and let's hear your thoughts. But two things I want to do first. Firstly, let's get on to my Patreon choice. Yes, I asked my Patreons what's an annoying character trait you come across, and everybody came up with a different one. So when that happens, I have to pick one that resonates best with me, or one that I feel was like, yeah, you know what, that was a solid choice and I just didn't have room for it on the list. And the best one I found, and this is not an insult, he phrased it as Magic the Gathering specific. I don't mean Magic the Gathering, alright? I just mean card games in general. So I'm talking all the CCGs, all the LCGs, I play 2 LCGs, come on. This character trait does come up, I have seen it. And it is very annoying because it just doesn't do any good. It makes you sound like a complete big-headed Burke, and it pushes people out of the hobby. It pushes people away from the game. And this is the character the person, I don't know what name to call it. I suppose you could call him the comic book guy from The Simpsons. I don't know. Or maybe just the elitist deck builder, whatever. I suppose elitist is the best name for it. And this is the card game. I'm just going to use Magic the Gathering as an example, okay? Where you play the deck against them. Or, you might have built your deck. You might only have a few cards. You're only just learning the game. And you get this player or this onlooker who's looking at your game. And they're saying things like, you've got that card in your deck? You're playing that deck? Why don't you have that rare card? Your deck is rubbish without that rare card. It just will not work. And they're constantly trying to pound their thought processes into your mind when you're just trying to have a fun game. No, sorry, I don't have that super rare card that you can only get as a promo at Gen Con, okay? I just have these cards. I want to make this deck. It's a fun deck. I don't need all your special cards to make my life fun. And these people are so big-headed. They are the ones on these ivory towers or something. It's like, oh, you don't have that card in your deck? Or, well, you're just not perfect higher tier for me. They sound like the upper class tough guy from Alice in Wonderland, the Tim Burton version. I don't see this often because I don't play CCGs anymore. And it's definitely more prominent in CCGs. But it's the competitive games more. I play 2 cooperative LCGs. Nobody bats an eyelid if I'm not playing with a certain card. I could be playing an elf deck, and someone might say, oh, have you got that elf leader card? No, I haven't. I've had to make do with this. I was like, oh, that's cool, but maybe look into that one. It's quite a cool card, but, let's carry on. We're doing good anyway. LCG cooperative players are some of the nicest community players I've ever seen for card games. But I saw this with Netrunner. I saw this with Magic the Gathering, definitely. I have seen this with a lot of other competitive games as well, like Star Wars Decipher in the old days. I used to play that. I saw this type of player there as well. and they're just so elitist. It's like, oh, well, you don't have this card, it's like, you need that deck. Well, if you don't, your deck is worthless. It's totally not going to work here at an upper tier level. You just have to stay there at tier 3. You won't survive at a tournament setting. It's like, get over yourself, mate, alright? And, I mean, this was a perfect Patreon choice, kudos to the person who thought of it, but, yeah, I've seen this before. And it's aggravating, because all you're doing is pushing the person out of the hobby. Who's going to want to play a game when they know that this is the kind of person they've got to contend with on a regular basis? Nobody wants that. You're playing a deck against me. Okay, it may not have certain cards that I feel you should need. Whatever. You having fun? Play the deck. And what do I know? I'm not a deck building expert. I have to get most of my LCG decks from the internet. I go on RingsDB and ArkhamDB to get my deck ideas, and then I tweak them slightly. I'm not a deck building expert. I haven't got the time. So I have to rely on other people's thoughts. But I don't look at their deck and go, why aren't you using Gandalf in that deck? That doesn't make any sense. No, their deck. If I want to tweak it, I'll tweak it from my own perspective, but I don't rub it into them. It's like, how dare you not have Gandalf? It's like, it's not only big-headed, it's childish, it's childish. There's no excuse for it. Don't do it. Great Patreon choice. This elitist type attitude really is not belong in card games, okay? Particularly not in this day and age. So, yeah, good Patreon choice, but other honourable mentions I had. I mentioned Go for the Gamer, effectively, which was, I mentioned Survive. I've got friends who, every time we play Survive, they just take it upon themselves to go for me, no matter what. They turn it into a cooperative game, all versus one. And I now won't play the game with them because that's not enjoyable for me. And it's just a childish trait. We're here to play a game like socially and have interaction. But if you're going to gang up on one person the entire game with no rhyme or reason, then that's not fun for that person. I mean, come on. Grow up. Everything is broken. It's like, everything's not awesome. It's like, uh-oh. Oh, phew. I thought the song was going to come back again. But, yeah, it's like, within 5 seconds of playing a new game, this person thinks, it's broken. Doesn't work. Yeah, totally doesn't work. And on top of that, they know how to fix it. They know how to fix this broken game. Well, excuse me, I never heard that you were such a fantastic designer in the board game industry, and your talents are clearly wasted doing that, that home care service job that you were doing, I mean, you're treating patients, in the NHS and stuff, but clearly you should be into board game design because that is your calling. It's like, come on. Taking back turns, yeah, I mean, if they're only got to take back one turn, it's not such a big deal. But when they want to take back multiple turns, it's like, oh, I haven't been getting a coin every time someone's built a mech next to me with the recruit action in Scythe. Well, if you don't mind, I've had this for 5 turns, I should take about 5 coins now. It's like, no, you forgot, okay? Accept it. It might be your first game, you might be learning. Okay, bad luck. Next time to watch out for it. But no, we're not just conveniently when there's a card there that costs like 8 coins and suddenly you say, well, I've only got 3 here, but I know, and I should have had 5 for those. I'm just going to take those now, okay? No, back. Grow up and deal with it. No, what else was there? Revenge! Yes, as in the old Worms PC game. It's like, revenge! Where you put a bad move on somebody, you take their piece or you block them in a certain way, and then is their mission in life from that point onwards to do everything in their power to screw your game up because you went for them once, and he might not have even done it intentionally. It might just be a case of, look, I need the wood from that space. I blocked you, and now you can't do this. That doesn't mean that you have to then lash out at them for the rest of the game. I mean, that's just childish as well. And finally, which one else would I say? The not paying attention was kind of linked on. Rules lawyer, I don't find this too bad, because sometimes I get rules wrong, so I'm glad that there's somebody else there who knows the rule better than I do. I wrote this down in speech bubbles as, I'll hate this and ruin it for you. That's just not very nice. I mean, you may not like the game, fine, but don't, instill that hate on everyone else if they're loving it. You may not like it, but they do. Just play the game and have some fun anyway. Don't enforce your viewpoint onto the others if they like it. Just because I hate a game doesn't mean I don't want other people to like the game. I've said this a million times and some people seem to clearly forget. But, you don't want to do that. And finally, the abuser. This almost made the list, could have been a number 11. This is the person who clearly does not respect other people's personal property. You know, it's like you'll be playing a board game and they'll be eating like gooey stuff all over the place or not caring if they, like, you know, like mishandle your game. But the worst one is the person who, you know, you're playing a card game and you've got to keep your hands separate and you just keep them flat on the table. But no, this person won't. No, this person will like to look at a card by going, you know, like bending it in half from the table so that nobody else can possibly see it unless they've got X-ray vision. And, you know, they're almost taunting you with it. It's like, oh, I'm just looking at it. And then the card just like flops in sadness. It's horrible. And some of these people don't think that it's such a big deal. It's like, oh, come on, it's just a piece of like cardboard and plastic. Yeah, it's not Monopoly. It doesn't cost me $10, okay? Sometimes I can't get another copy of this game. You know, I might have spent £50-60 on this game that's out of print and now I can't get it anymore. If you're going to destroy it, now you've just like ruined it and I can't get another copy. Just have some respect, people, okay? You know, to take care of other people's property. You know, I don't go to your house and then start smearing, like, you know, paint on all the windows or something, just going, well, it's only a window, you can always just clean it. It's like, no. So don't use that attitude with the game either. So, yeah. There's a lot. There was a lot more than I thought I was going to write down for this, actually. Which is, I don't know if that's amusing or rather more disturbing. But, you know, I'm sure a lot of you have got opinions on this anyway. So, I mean, you know, let me know in the comments. Remember, this was a tongue-in-cheek list. This was not pointing the finger at specific people. You know, I'm not targeting specific, you know, like players or genders or anything like that with this. This was just totally a tongue-in-cheek list that I enjoyed so much when the Dice Tower did it that I thought at some point I want to do it as well. And it means that I don't have to keep lifting games up all the time. It means that I can just talk with my hands going everywhere like I'm Matt Smith from Doctor Who or something. So yeah, tongue-in-cheek, just a harmless list. You know, I'm sure you've all got your own top 10s of annoying traits, and I'd certainly like to hear in the comments what your personal sort of like irks and aggravations are with like gamer traits. You know, do you agree with the ones on this list? Do you think some of my honourable mentions are more worse? Or do you have a gamer trait that I haven't even thought of? I really want to see those. So stick them in the comments, and just like I say, keep it civil, guys, okay? So that's it for me. If you like what you see, you know, and you haven't been scared away by this list, then subscribe to the channel, check out my Patreon, find me on Facebook and Twitter, all the usual stuff. You can read them in the credits. For now, take care, and remember, all these traits that I've mentioned, it doesn't matter what sort of gamer you are, or what kind of traits you don't like in that. At the end of the day, just remember the one motto I have. And I know this because I used to do some of these traits more as a kid, and I had to learn from this. You know, hopefully others can as well. It's only a game. Take care, just have fun. See you on the next video.